Namaskar and a very good morning. Welcome to the audiocast from Kotak Securities. I'm your host and guide Anindya Bannerjee. कल price action in USDINR was very interesting. Interesting इसलिए क्योंकि every other major currency appreciated against the US dollar. And at the same time, equity markets were trading in the green and closed with strong gains. तो ये risk on sentiment, soft dollar index, in spite of all that, we saw dollar rupee gain. And it came very close to the 80 levels. Spot closed just 98, 2 paisa away from the 80 handle. Or आज offshore market as of now, it's indicating a flat open, possibly around 79, 97, 98 on the spot, which will be around 80.0607 on the July futures. The question is, can it maintain this momentum as it saw yesterday? क्योंकि इंडिया में the FPI outflows continue, and at the same time unwinding of the carry trade or even shorting of the rupee, which is known as reverse carry trade. So people are paying the forward and the futures premium to short the rupee against the dollar. So those two kind of trends are continuing, and that is exerting a lot of pressure on the Indian rupee. हो सकता है कि कल RBI was not so active, and that's the reason why Indian rupee was an underperformer. But interesting एक analysis है कि when we analyze the data over this year as to the daily performance of the Indian rupee vis-a-vis its peers, a big basket of peers. What we saw was that जब भी Indian rupee underperformed on a particular day, significantly underperformed like it did yesterday, it came back the next day, which means if it underperformed yesterday significantly, today it has a higher probability of doing an outperformance. Now, the outperformance things is interesting. Outperformance doesn't mean that the rupee is going to appreciate against the dollar, because it depends on how other currencies will do against the dollar. If other currencies are also depreciating significantly against the dollar, then rupee will depreciate less. If other currencies are appreciating, then rupee can appreciate more. So that's the overall interesting observation that we did. But again, this is what happened in the past. That doesn't mean it has to happen today as well. Now the question is, why did it happen in the past? One reason which we can think of is that RBI tends to come in heavily the next day to smoothen out the volatility. So if rupee was an underperformer and it really depreciated against when the other currencies were largely flat or strong, RBI tends to come in aggressively the next day to smoothen out the relative performance, because RBI's target are two things. One is how the rupee doing vis-a-vis its peers, so it tends to keep it around the median. And secondly, the volatility. Rupee should be less volatile than its peers. So on those two counts, the Indian rupee has done pretty well this year, because it has been a slight outperformer against a major basket of currencies. And at the same time, the volatility in the Indian rupee has been relatively lower against its peers. So RBI has done a good job, and RBI has been able to achieve its target. So that's going to be the approach of the RBI as well. So they will intervene in the spot forwards and NDF and also in the futures to ensure that this target is met. They have reserves. They can build positions in derivatives to ensure that. So keep that in mind. The question is how to play it. आज we have to see whether it's able to break out above the 80 spot level or not. See, 80 is not a major resistance, but 80 becomes a psychological level, because whenever the prices cross a major handle, it tends to attract a lot of selling at those levels. Selling from primarily people who are long, they tend to book profits. There may be some people who like to take a contrarian bet at those levels. But an interesting feature here, which we have to highlight, which is that there is a large amount of open interest in the 80 strike call option. So which means naturally there is a kind of a resistance at those levels. So अगर 80 के ऊपर spot sustain होता है, then you can try attempt fresh longs, either using options or futures, and play for a move, because 80k beyond there, the next resistance is again just psychological, but that's not significantly psychologically important, and that is 80 half. क्योंकि these levels are completely virgin territory, so you cannot say proper resistances are there. It's where RBI comes and draws the line and starts to intervene very aggressively. वहाँ पे एक तरफ से रेजिस्टेंस बन जाता है. बट फिलहाल के लिए 80 के ऊपर अगर क्लियर ब्रेकआउट देता है स्पॉट, इट कैन बी एन अपॉर्चुनिटी टू एंटर फ्रेश लॉन्ग्स इन द USDINR यूजिंग ऑप्शंस और फ्यूचर्स. Where will be a stop loss? Stop loss should be below 79.80 in that case on a daily closing basis, futures के हिसाब से, because 80 के नीचे it has not really sustained over the past couple of days. So that's the reason why 80 can be a good place to maintain your stop. And on the way up, 80.40 or 80 half could be the levels to watch on the July futures. But of course, you cannot ignore the participation and activity of the RBI, because they are a major market player on days they become the biggest market player, so you cannot ignore them. Cross currencies में आज UK से the jobs report will be out, and it's going to be important because that's going to have a bearing on the GBPINR. So GBPINR is going to be quite volatile. कल एक अच्छा खासा short covering देखने को मिला on the back of positive risk sentiments and a strength in the euro. But आज the pound will be quite volatile. अगर data अच्छा आता है तो we might see further short covering. But in case the data comes bad, we may see a pullback. But आज GBPINR is going to be quite volatile. Euro INR should trade in a range till the ECB meeting. That's on Thursday. We will discuss the expectation, etc. in the coming days about the ECB meeting. But as of now, the Euro INR should actually stay quiet. JPINR be range bound hai. So that's it, folks. This is Anindya Bannerjee signing off. A fantastic day ahead.